Well, first of all, I'm the co-founder of Memora. My other co-founder is also here as well. It is a digital auction platform for good. And it is basically putting physical items on chain of celebrities. So we're auctioning out celebrity memorabilia for a positive cause, so for a charitable cause. And we're using AI and blockchain to trace not only the item, but also the impact of that donation that we're doing. So this is what we're building today in my new venture. And I've been looking at future technologies and how technology, luxury, and anything that is coming as a future type of impact or philanthropy coming into the industry and how that can build the future of us. So we can have a beautiful conversation today.
And that's why we're going to talk with Pierre-Yves, who is also waiting there. Please big a round of applause for Pierre-Yves with Carlota. Come on, guys.
Hi, everyone. Is it here?
And I'm escaping, so sorry.
Hi, everyone. Bonjour.
Hello. I'm so excited to have this talk with you today at TLF and to be able to share here with everyone some insights on the new luxury frontiers. And I think that maybe one of the things that is really important to start with is luxury, right? And what luxury and what the luxury industry is selling today and where we're at today, right? Because we have some kind of information coming in lately that we've had some financial reports that are looking at a slowdown. And what does that mean for us and where we stand?
First, I'm not a big fan of this term luxury. But if I go backward, I started my career at McKinsey actually in 1990. And we were approached by the Comité Colbert in 1990 to do the first assessment of the size of the luxury industry. No one was actually talking about the luxury industry. There was no luxury industry back then. And the Comité Colbert wanted to assess, the size of the economy. And so we did the first study, I think ever, on the definition of what luxury is. Do we put cars? Do we put hotels? What's the price, boundaries to define luxury? So we did that. And people were actually shocked with already back then of the size of the luxury industry. I remember the number was it was in French franc at the time. I think it was like 50 billion French franc, 50 or 60 billion. And people were shocked of the size and the number of people that were already working back then in the luxury industry. I'm talking about 1990. So that was probably some of you were not even born. And I've been in that industry, since then for 25 years. So coming back to your question about what's happening and the slowdown and so on. I've seen ups and downs in that industry for years. We had 2020, obviously 2001, we're 2008. We have obviously the pandemic with the stress in Asia, and Asia is a big market for luxury. Obviously we had COVID, but what we had seen over and over is the rebound of luxury. So I feel very confident if you ask me on luxury. Not only because I work in luxury, but also because I believe the essence of luxury, which is not going to go away. First, everyone has to wear clothes, shoes, handbags, so that's something that will not disappear anytime soon. We're not like in a product that might disappear or there's a substitute to it. And then the desirability and what comes with a luxury product, which is the emotion, the sense of well-being, the sense of the way you want to present yourself, is not going to go away because that's part of the psychology of it's human nature. I think what is critical, though, is to continue to fuel the growth of the luxury beyond what's happening in the economy. And obviously, there's a slowdown in the economy that is affecting, with obviously the uncertainty, the geopolitical situation, and so on. But what will continue to fuel the growth of luxury? I think some of it is the whole recipes that are still true, and some of them would be the new one. And I'm sure going to talk about the new one, but let me just get back to the old recipes. The whole recipes is creativity and its quality, because what really drives the desirability of the product is bringing new and exciting product with a high level of quality. No one needs another pair of shoes or another bag except if you create the desire. So what you see of the slowdown is, I think somewhat there's probably not has been enough creativity, and maybe the growth was happening, bringing quality also into it. And I think also the way you're doing that with a price that feels right. It's having the same product with a price that has gone 3 or 4 times the rhythm of inflation of the last 5 years without changing it and bringing design and quality. at one point the customer is saying, does it worth it? So I think, we have to question ourselves on, what are we offering? I think there is no price resistance in absolute terms. There's price resistance when it feels that the product doesn't bring, the desire and the emotion.
Absolutely.
But I'm very positive and excited. So the whole recipe is creativity, innovation, desirability is still true. But there's a lot also, and I know you're an expert in technology. By the way, you should watch Carlota's blog, which is Beyond Luxury, which is very interesting. That brings technology and fashion, and I'm looking forward to discuss that new opportunities with technology, fashion in luxury.
Yeah, I think, thank you for that. And I think that what's really interesting in your perspective is that you've really seen, luxury in the past 35 years kind of grow into what it is now. And you were talking about 1990 and how you did that research with the Comité Colbert. And now we see kind of what this new iteration or kind of like a must of iteration of what the luxury industry is doing now, keeping those essential components is really the key to be able to go forward. How is that desirability going to impact new generations and the new consumer? How are we actually being relevant to them? How are we creating the extreme creation of value, which is what luxury is really bringing to us? And how are we being relevant and momentary in time, which is something that we've been talking about as well, right? And what's fascinating is to hear that as well, to see where everything has gone to now, having, you've been chairman and serving as chairman and CEO of LVMH for 15 years, before that at McKinsey, and now the CEO of Tory Burch, which is a beautiful American brand that has so much to it. And so really seeing that kind of perspective until now is very interesting, and to look at what it means forward and what are these new frontiers is also key, and is something, as you mentioned, that I really talk about in Beyond Luxury, my podcast, and Beyond Luxury, The Promise of Emotion, my book as well. And really looking into this merge of tech, impact, and luxury, and how we can get a better ride forward. And I think too of the tech that is very pertinent today and important to kind of assimilate to actually forge systemic change in the industry is A, AI, and B, blockchain, right? I know that you're using as well AI at Tory Burch. Maybe it'd be interesting to kind of hear how you've been using it, and then we can talk about other utilities.
And again, I'm going to look backwards. I'm sorry to have a bit of history in that industry, but historically, luxury was a very low-tech industry. It was craftsmanship, which is still the case. In atelier, they were fairly traditional. Most of the products were carryover products, so the supply chain was fairly simple. It was a limited number of SKU. You were launching a new bags every 2 or 3 years. And it was not a global business. And the rhythm of innovation was kind of limited. Obviously, e-commerce didn't exist. So when you were looking at the investment that we were doing in the different companies that worked in luxury in the past, IT was actually very, very low. Where we were really spending the capex and the money was on stores. By the way, it's still the case, but all the investment were on building beautiful store, base location, a lot of marbles and everything. And the IT investment were like really marginal. There was limited, expertise, skill, and attention. What has changed? Obviously, the rise of e-commerce obviously changed because you need to power it, and I'm going to come back on, the challenge of it. But also the supply chain, also the rhythm of innovation, the number of SKUs that you have, the fact that you operate a global business, then it requires, supply chain that are much more efficient, and that needs to be supported by technology. One of the challenge of e-commerce, beside the technology that, we've always been kind of struggling with, being a luxury brand, is how do you offer online a luxury experience? Obviously, no one is going to debate the value of e-commerce. You can buy 24/7, you can browse, you see all the things. Obviously, the customer is obviously very excited. We had seen very early on that you can sell even super expensive product online. There was zero price resistance. We're selling diamonds that were very expensive or high expensive watch. As long as you trust, the site that you're buying and the brand, there was no resistance. The real issue is when you go into a store and you've spent a lot of money, coming back to what I was saying, in a store, you've trained all your sales associates, and you really have a luxury experience, how do you replicate that online? And I think this is what technology can really help. It would really help to make the connection between the online experience and the offline experience. So, for example, at Tori, you go on our website, for example, and you can connect with a store associate while you are shopping online to be able to talk to a sales associate. And people like that interaction. And they ask, advice. They have sometimes something that you haven't been thinking of showing, on the website. Like, I bought that, green dress. Would it fit with that bag? Obviously, having that on the website is not easy. But if you talk to a sales associate, she has, the green dress in the store, and she can put the bag next to it. So, creating that connection between the offline and the online requires a lot of technology as well, because then you have to manage the inventory in the so-called omni-channel. The omni-customer and the omni-channel, which has been a bit of a buzzword, the technology that is required, to be able to do that, it's quite significant. The other thing, and where AI can help, which, it's algorithm, whether we call it AI, and we've done it even before it was called AI, is to be able to personalize things, which obviously everyone expects that. Again, it's a buzzword. You expect, something personalized. When you go on your, Instagram or TikTok, it's personalized because what you get is basically what you're interested in. So we want to do more of this. But the challenge with that is actually less the technology, is how do you, when you're doing it, because we always have to think about how technology can fuel the essence of luxury and desirability. If it becomes just an optimization and a productivity, we're going to kill the dream, and we're going to kill the personalization and the uniqueness of it. The challenge of being something which is totally personalized to you, it will give you exactly what you are looking for and what you already know that you're potentially interested in. It would be like, as a designer, asking to the customer, what bags do you want? Or what pair of shoes do you want? No one can answer that question. It's the designer who invents something that you haven't even been thinking of. But when you think of the equivalent of that on a website, if you have a totally adaptive website, where basically, as you browse through the website, it basically feeds you with exactly what you've been looking at, you would miss a lot of the things that we are offering that we want you to discover and potentially be interested in. Mm-hmm. So when you're in a store, you don't have that because you enter the store and you have the whole experience. And then the sales associate can guide you to, okay, I'm looking for something for myself, for a special occasion, for a gift, for a wedding and so on. And then you start getting it. But you still keep the brand's integrity and the overall storytelling of the brand. So personalization, yes, and AI can help a lot. But how do you do that while still keeping a discovery, a sense of I'm putting things out there that you might not have been thinking of or that you haven't been searching? So,
I mean, you hit the nail in the head. This is the question that most luxury brands have been looking at today. When you go to an e-commerce site that is not a luxury e-commerce site, sometimes you even have a more engaging experience than a luxury e-commerce site, which is very cold. It's kind of hard to navigate. You kind of don't really know where to go. And sometimes I think the biggest difference is that when you go into a store, there's someone. There's someone that comes and greets you and talks to you and hyper-personalizes the experience for you. The difference is that when you go online, there's no one to guide you, right? So in the store, you might call it a human or you might call it an intelligence. What if when you went to an e-commerce, that intelligence came back, right? And so instead of going to an e-commerce and you need to buy a gift for your friend, maybe you're not going to care so much about if the product is sustainable or not or how it was made. You just want to know, will my friend like this, right? Or if it's for you, maybe you actually have these values that you're going to align with, that you're going to put an intention on why you're buying the item. And all of this information, the website doesn't know, right? So this is a perfect example of how to bring in AI as a tool that can actually know not only what you, we look at these algorithms all the time, like TikTok. This is how it manages, right? It's understanding every single thing you do. If you go on anyone's TikTok page in this room, we will all have different feeds. So what if you could keep that essence, which is, you still have the Tory Burch essence, to take Tory as an example, but every time it is modulated to whatever it's hyper-personalized, whatever you are looking for. It knows that maybe you're looking for a gift for your mother, or for your friend, or for a dress for a party, right? It really can be this intelligence that can guide you through, because today you can't go on a website and say, gift for my mother, and get it, right? So this is the kind of strength and benefit that AI can give us, but there's also this huge question on data security and integrity, right? And this is where AI and blockchain, for me, together, this marriage of both, is the magic key. If you own your own data, and you can not only go into Tory Burch and Tory know what you've bought in the past 2 years, but it can know what you've bought in the 10 different premium luxury and any, even if it's not luxury stores around the world, and know exactly what kind of thing that, maybe not something that you've already bought that you want to rebuy, but what other things that you've been interested in. And if you had that whole sense of data of the whole client, not just what they bought with Tory, you have so much more of a view on what kind of desirability you can give to them. And this is possible if we have ownership of our data and we integrate blockchain into allowing a brand.
I agree, and that's, by the way, it's true in other industry, but that's
in all
at the
industries.
center. But
Absolutely.
you've mentioned, because there's so many things we can talk about, and I'm, mindful of your lunch. You mentioned blockchain, which I think is an interesting, other, technology that can have some value in our industry. Obviously, the traceability is something that is very important, but I would say in every industry, or should be important in every industry, and the sustainability. What is probably more specific to luxury is how blockchain can help fighting against counterfeit product, which we know is a very big, and ongoing and would always exist because of the value of the product. So the ability to trace product, blockchain can really help doing that. It also can help enhancing the resale value of the product. And when you buy a luxury product, you want to make an investment. You know that investment, or you want that product would last for a long time. That potentially has a resale value even you keep it, whether it's a watch, whether it's a bag, whatever it is. And blockchain can help that because it basically make the resale market more efficient, because it can really guarantee that the product has been bought and traced. But it has also some other benefit. For example, one of the customer resistance today of buying a luxury product is that they're worried to be mugged on the street when they wear a high-end watch or a bag. Because now the value of a bag is actually not what is inside the bag, because there's nothing inside the bag. I mean, there's no cash, and the credit card doesn't worth anything. So the value is the bag itself. So when you wear a bag that is quite expensive, or an expensive watch, people are just worried. So it's something that people might not think about. But if you manage the resale value of that, also, there's an element of reassurance on that. So it's the way we look at technology, and the way I've looked at technology during all the years. And again, we started in very low-tech industry. But as we're thinking about technology, it's very easy to be trapped in the excitement of, okay, we can use technology on a lot of things. Obviously, we can use it in the core process of the company, like I talked about supply chain and so on, because that's true on everything. But what I think is really make it really different is when you say, okay, our technology can reinforce what we said in the beginning, which is, a luxury product is a high-quality product. How do we make it more, in terms of quality? How do we, how the craft is better? But also on the design. We haven't spoken about design, but how can we use, AI to design products? Systems like Midjourney, for example, or others, which is the equivalent of ChatGPT, for designing things. There's multiple platforms, that's one of them. It's actually quite, striking when you see it, and how people can use it. But we've used it. Tory has used it. But for now, where it is, it's basically recycle thing into fashion. So basically, the way the system works is it will go back into what already exists in fashion, and it would blend it. So it's like in the music industry, if you would do like remix or samplings of music. So you basically recycle things in fashion, and the output is quite basic. I must say that when I see collections out there, I can see the collection that have been designed with AI and the collection that's been designed with AI. My point is that maybe one day, the AI would be able creatively to mimic the way Tori works. But the way she works, when she designs a collection, she doesn't look at fashion. She's inspired by music. She's inspired by sculpture. She's inspired by, a lot of things that are not directly related to fashion. Because again, otherwise you're just redoing the same thing. So maybe one day this Midjourney or whatever would be able to connect all the things and create something. Then you have also the way you're creating it. Today it's taking kind of formal shapes and it's placing prints on it. So again, when you see it, it works if you're in mass fashion and you do polo sweater and you have to do the print of the season, that works very well. But when you really work on shapes and when you really work on inspiration that is much broader than fashion itself, for now, I don't really see it. We use it, for example, on designing of the store. That works. We do a lot of pop-up, thing. And as a source of inspiration on a mood board, that helps. But architects have been using systems like this. But it really helps because you can really see how it would look like. So there are some areas where it can be used. I don't see it today because in a way, when you look at ChatGPT, a way a sentence is built is fairly simple. There's a grammar to it. So fashion there's not as simple. There's not like what's the grammar of fashion, on a clothes. It's not codified in the same way that sentences are codified in a way. So we're very impressed in a way by ChatGPT being able to kind of writing speeches, but it's fairly codified. In a creative world where there's less codification and grammar, because you have all the ingredients there, but you can use it in such a different way. I don't think the system is there yet. I just wanted to talk on because you've mentioned blockchain and AI, and I wanted to touch about the other thing.
Yeah, I think that the magic there is using AI to become more human than ever. I think AI is one of those technologies. It's a tool, and like every tool, how you use it is the important part of it, not the tool itself. And it's proven to be super effective and very interesting to become more human than ever if we let the tool do about 60 to 70% of the task. And from then on, we need the human intelligence and we need the human creativity to continue the rest, right? It's just like the easy work that we would have taken maybe months to research trends about this and that and really the tough and nitty-gritty work that maybe would take us a long time is reduced. But then, of course, especially in the creativity space, then using what is given to you by these tools to then create something completely out there, right? And to continue this essence as kind of going back now to close off on the points on the beginning, to assure that even bringing tech and even bringing all of these different components to what the new luxury frontiers could look like is how can we remain relevant to the client? How can we remain desirable to the client? And how can we have that promise of emotion, which is what we're promising, right? And that essentially can really only be done by a human. And that is just like the tandem of how we need to start working and learning how to work with this technology.
No, I agree, and you've mentioned, and I know you're very involved on that, which is also for me to make luxury relevant going forward. And it's probably any organization, I would say, and I know every project that you're involved in has a purpose into it. And Tori created that company 20 years ago. It is probably the most successful company that's been created in the fashion and luxury space of the last 20 years. She reached $1 billion in 10 years. We're a private company, so we don't disclose our phone number. We're close to $2 billion. She was profitable in year 2, and she makes profits every single year since then. We have 350 stores, 5,000 employees, and so on. So all of that is quite, impressive, obviously, and I was always very impressed with the company. But what is more impressive is Tori created that company, as she always said, to create a foundation for women's empowerment. And the company came after her vision and dream of creating a foundation for women's empowerment, as a woman creating her own company. And the build-up of philanthropy into the journey of a company is quite unique. I mean, we're here with, in a Franco-American culture, and we know the culture in the US of giving back and philanthropy, which is not as strong in Europe and in France in particular, but so strong in the US. But usually the way it works is that you create a great company, you're an entrepreneur, you're very successful, then you do an IPO, you make a lot of money, you sell it to someone, and then you give back to your university, to whatever cause. Building it as part of the journey, I think, is very unique.
So unique.
And I think she was very visionary, because now every company is saying, okay, I have to think about, doing something good for the planet or good for the whatever, and have a cause and something. And she was very visionary, and I think when you look at what explained the success of the brand, amazing, beside her creative talent, beside that she was visionary, being on all those technology before anyone else. She was the first to create e-commerce, she created the first blog in fashion, the Tory Daily, all these things back in 2004 when no one was selling on e-commerce. So she embraced the whole technology that we've talked about very early on. E-commerce is a very big portion of what we do, but she embraced also being a purpose-driven company. And I think this is even more relevant today, because you talked about being relevant to the customer. I know that for us, we only design handbags and shoes and garments for women. So standing up for women's empowerment is incredibly important. But it's also incredibly important to attract talent. I can tell you the people that were capable of attracting. Obviously, they love fashion, because fashion is kind of an easy sell. They love Tory and the success of Tory. They want to be associated with a great success. But what they love most of everything is to be part of a company that stands for something. And we're here at Goldman Sachs, which I'm very happy with, because they were the first, involved in the Tory Burch Foundation with the 10,000, entrepreneurs. It's been a journey of, 15 years. We've given 100 million loan. We have 2.5 million women entrepreneurs on our website. And Goldman Sachs was really, the first sponsor of this initiative. So I want to also say thank you to them, because they were really at the origin of it. We've expanded now beyond. But I just wanted to mention that, because I know you're very involved in that. Yeah. But as we talk about new frontiers, we talked about technology, all recipes. But I think this is a very important part of what any company should do. But I would say a company that brings emotion should do it with authenticity. It cannot just be a story. It has to be authentic.
Absolutely, I agree. And
sorry, I need to close, please. Yeah,
we've got to go, but thank you so much. And I really resonate with that. That's also Memoira is a mission-first driven company, and hopefully we can work with your foundation soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Please give them a big round of applause.